Oh, lighting is interesting here. Well, I should have noted that before. Let's see if I can take care of that. Okay, that's good enough. Maybe just thing over on this side here as well. That's good. That works out pretty decently. And gosh, I wish I knew how to control this thing on the camera. I don't like being so close up, but what the fuck? I'll just go with it anyway. So I don't celebrate holidays. Now you can list any holiday that you want. Um, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, 4th of July, Flag Day, St. Patrick's Day, Mother's Day. The list goes on and on and on and on. Really, and the reason I don't is because I actually celebrate every day, and to celebrate anything more, I think is overkill. Um, it really it is, and I may have mentioned this on some other video, but really, holidays make absolutely no sense. They really don't, and it's so clear to see how easy people are manipulated. And this is, I mean, it's not to say that there's this insidious puppeteer, going at the top and making people do all this shit. This is actually stuff that we did to ourselves, and we sort of perpetuate it, because we think it's okay. I mean, people will just do things without thinking, even if there is no reward in doing that. I mean, if you think about Christmas, how many people go in debt to observe that holiday? How can going in debt be rewarding? It's just to see a child smile when they give them a gift, and a gift is really, a gift is in a way it's a bribe. I almost think that every gift is like a Trojan horse. Something is expected in a way. So generally I don't go for gifts. I really don't like gifts. Typically, I really haven't liked gifts whenever they're given to me. People try to choose things that they think, that I would really like. And most of the time they're off the mark. I mean, a really like sad one was one where my wife, which kind of not really anymore, um, gave me a bass guitar, and I play bass. She actually got it from a musician friend of mine, very talented guy, Lewis, who played with some other friends of mine at the time. They called themselves Dew, and like the Morning Dew, DEW. You can look them up. Their sound is very different. And well, no, not when they were Dew. They turned into Perkinswood, and they became more different at that point in time. But they weren't the sort of mainstream, and they weren't easy to. It was an acquired taste. But anyway, Lewis was a great guy, very talented, a fantastic bass player, much better than I am. But it was kind of like a longboard uh, fretboard, and it really didn't set with me well. I mean, it just I didn't like it, and I had to say, you have to return this. I don't want it. And I know it was a very sort of disappointing to my partner to hear that, but I just didn't feel like I needed to accept something that I really didn't like, and it just seemed to be a waste to me, But yeah, any of the days, again, and my birthday is on St. Patrick's Day, and I could tell you some horrible stories about what I did on St. Patrick's Day. I mean, it is just insane, and again, I don't even care about my birthday anymore. So, if you're wondering whether those are celebrated or celebrate, the birthdays of my loved ones, and the answer is no as well. But that hasn't always been the case. And I don't want anybody to think that, this is who I've always been. I've sort of, kind of dealing with life, transitioning and everything like that. And, this is where I am. This is where I have gotten to at this point. Um, and I really don't see holidays or hollow days. Again, kudos to my friend Donna Damage from the original singer from the New York City punk band No Thanks. If you've never heard of them, look them up. They were some. A few of the members were friends of mine, and I knew them in other um, musical iterations or different bands and stuff like that. Great people that I met in New York City. Lovely, lovely people. But yeah, and so I don't think this is going to last very long because the point is really straightforward. There's nothing to be gained. But some of my close friends who kind of poo-poo on most of those days still have their little special days. There's days that I kind of observe or I think that are somewhat important. Um, I think Juneteenth is an important day. And from a historical perspective, I think people should be aware of what that means. Um, Martin Luther King, again, observing his birthday, I think that, maybe if anything, if I were to observe Martin Luther King, I would, maybe commemorate the day that he gave the day that I have a dream speech, and for me, that would be the better day as a holiday for Martin Luther King. But, birthdays, I mean, birthdays are just another waste of time. They really are. It's just an artificial date that has no major significance or anything like that. Really, when you stop and think about it, every day that you survive is a birthday, I mean, or every day, I mean, you're still alive. So, every day that you're still alive is a day to celebrate. You don't have to wait for your birthday to celebrate your life just because you went around the sun, one time, which is, again, sort of, it's just a scheme. I mean, it is important to be somewhat organized, especially the more people you have to organize, the more important it is to organize. Because, I mean, if you just let fucking shit fly all over the place, I mean, it's going to get pretty hairy. And we're kind of getting to that point anyway. Yeah, I mean, why bother? Why it really, it's just bizarre to me. Now, Halloween is one that I have a lot of friends, sort of say, well, how Halloween, how can you, dress up? I was like, fuck, man. I dress up every day. I'm in costume every day. Why do I have to go out of my way? And for a lot of people, Halloween is sort of like this day where they can kind of lose their inhibitions a little bit and hide behind a mask to kind of reflect something, some part of their psyche that they think it's important to manifest. So I find it a it's a sad, sad, sad day. I mean, sending people or children around neighborhoods to get candy, which is unhealthy for them in the first place. I mean, just a little candy every now and then doesn't hurt anybody. I'm not saying abolish candy or anything like that. I mean, you can make your own treats at home. I know people make their own saltwater taffy and what have you. Those are things that are cool. But for children to knock on doors and get candy by saying fuck, giving people a sort of a passive aggressive threat, trick or treat, give me a treat or I'm gonna fuck with you. That's pretty insidious when you think about it. What we're teaching children there. And then what makes it even worse, is that, people who I admire, people who I kind of appreciate and like, which are teachers, because they do, want to spend their time with children and they want to, help children. And all their motivations are good or decent, at least. But they in school, they make children waste time with dumbass shit like, let's make a card for your mother to show her how much you love her, and just to do it on that particular day. See, if I want to think about my mother and how much I love her, any day is good. Any day is good. I call my mom has passed away. She's been passed. She died in 2005. She had pancreatic cancer. It's a horrible story because her doctor ignored her complaints where she was saying there's something not right, that something doesn't feel good. He's oh, it's old age. Don't worry about it. He just poo-pooed it, you know, until she actually broke down and cried in his office for an MRI and CAT scan. And that's when he saw the cancer that had already metastasized. And I get a call when I'm in the middle of a cornfield somewhere near Springfield, Missouri, where I was working. And the doctor says, I need to tell you something about your mother. She's going to die in about 3 months. That's about as long as she has, you know. And that was devastating news. I mean, really, it crushed me. But again, I don't need Mother's Day to think about my mother. And when I was on Facebook, I was kind of starting to get irritated. Was everybody say, "Oh, I love my mother. I love my mother. Of course, who doesn't love their mother?" And it's sort of like, oh, look at me, how much I love my mother. Look at me, how much I love children, or look at me and how amorous I am, taking my date out to eat steak. It's all just nonsense. It's a distraction. Look, really, 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 I think that most people, what they want, is a decent shelter, some decent food, and some decent doctor or somebody that can, whenever they feel like shit or something bad happens or stuff like that. Outside of that, I mean, there's really no reason. Everybody is rushing, but there's nothing to rush to. I seriously think that I would be much happier as I would have been as a Native American Indian, for example, living before the white colonizers arrived in the United States, because it is a very simple, straightforward life. It doesn't have anything to do with production and getting shit done and feeding. It does. It's just like, a sort of a pastoral setting. A sort of like Hobbit town, or a little village, where everybody does their shit and sort of performs their service. But people take advantage of that. And, some people have more control, more power. They've managed to accumulate, to basically continue to accumulate. And in many ways now, these people are sort of mythical creatures that you can't really even see, but they siphon shit off of you all the time. I'm not trying to be paranoid or anything like that, but just stating the facts. Power, corruption, and this and greed. These are all traits, and these are traits that are shared by animals. So there are greedy animals in a pack, and there's also animals that are not part of the pack. It just depends. You have to look at them. And I used to read very little because it's difficult for me, because I don't have a big science background. I do have some science, but not a lot. And it was E.O. Wilson, who they called him the original Antman, because he pretty much dedicated his life to studying ants, and how they're organized and their society and what they do and what their functions are and stuff like that. And, we're very similar. I mean, people don't like hearing that, but it's true. It is true. And of course, ants also have larger numbers that you have to think about, where there's other the mammals that have smaller groups that are more manageable, and I think that, once the mammals or monkeys or so, not, again, I haven't studied this, or, within the certain groups, I kind of know of some of the stuff. I don't necessarily want to go jump in that rabbit hole at this point in time. I mean, if there's anything that I would like to do at this point in time, really, is travel with archaeologists. I love looking and digging and, looking at old shit. It's fascinating to me, and really, I think that a lot of the things that we see in history are lessons that we just don't understand. For example, the pyramids, they're still there, and they were built a long time ago. And to me, that's almost like it's like a metaphorical message. Number one, the pyramids did not get built by themselves. I mean, a lot of people had to be involved in this process to build the pyramids, and someone or some people had to be in control as well. And so you see the basic structure of any society or anything like that, in general, or especially if it's a large society. You have the base, which is the very basics of it. It's kind of you can't have the top without the bottom. You just can't. And if you take the bottom out, the top falls down. It's kind of where we're at right now as far as here in the United States. It's an incredibly scary situation. And what makes it scarier is that most people don't even know what the fuck is going on. You know, a- a- and again, I'm not saying that I know everything. I'm not a know-it-all or blah 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 blah. But to me, the writing was on the wall when Trump got voted in. And everybody's been kind of in denial ever since. But and the problem goes back further. And actually, there's a time. I mean, I was saying I can't believe this shit. The fucking dude is fucking. He's executing a coup. What the fuck is he planning on doing? It was just so strange. But nobody was talking about it at that time. Everybody was focused on what the event was or something that was going on. But I was kind of seeing the bigger picture here, as far as the fucker is trying to stay there. And what is he going to do when he does? I mean, if he manages to pull this off, what exactly is he going to do? I just, and there has to be like a higher plan, something. And to me, there's sort of some complicit. And again, I have no basis for saying this, except for my thoughts and how I see things. But for me, the fact that he's cozied up to Putin indicated, and the fact that China appears to be a common enemy of both the United States and Russia, I think that he wanted to basically join forces with Russia to kind of put more pressure on China or to isolate them or to do whatever, you know. But again, I don't know, and we won't know because he didn't take power, and the dude's up shit's creek at this point in time. But I mean, that doesn't matter because I mean, he is the closest thing to Hitler that we have in modern day, and his MAGA people are the brown shirts. Uh, it's really nothing less than that. Boy, did I get off track. um, so, yeah. So back to holidays. So here's another one. 4th of July. What the fuck is so rewarding about spending your hard-earned cash on shit that you blow up? But that's what we do. That's our mentality here. I mean, the bulk of the budget really goes to military equipment, and this is a pathologically broken culture. Because when you spend as much as you do on military might, as much as this country does, it is done on a pathological basis. It's basically gotten to the point where the inertia, it's just unstoppable. There's nobody in the military is going to say, oh, we have enough. They're just not. So they're going to ask for more, and shit gets more expensive anyway. So they just keep, and people say, yeah, we need this, this is defense because we're scared of China and blah, 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 blah. But it's not really even that, because there's businesses, that are tied into the military, private. So this is a very, very, very sick country, and it is in its death throes. The thing is that there's a lot of money still here. So if you look at the actual demographics and look at it sort of on the socioeconomic terms. How is the population divided based on income? I mean, there's a lot of people in this country who are well off, are doing okay. I'm not to say that they don't have some financial struggles, but for the most part, they're okay. And when you're okay, and you say shit like, I'm blessed, um, you really don't give a fuck about other things, because you've got your own shit to take care of. I saw an article not too long ago where each person in the couple makes like $125,000 a year or something like that, or $150,000 a year, like a power couple, doctor and a lawyer or some shit like that. They have like, I don't know how many millions saved up for retirement, and they're worried that whether or not they have enough. People. And so to anybody who is really trying to be part of, the struggle for social justice, I mean, one of the things I ask you to stop doing is just fucking forget about holidays. Just forget about holidays, forget about birthdays. But I know that's going to fall on deaf ears. I mean, people just, it's they don't want it. I mean, hey, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate. Fine. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not going to do it, and don't expect me to. So and it has, and I'll say this: it hasn't been easy. My family members are a little taken aback by the fact that I don't give a shit about those days, and I have no interest in them whatsoever. I mean, I don't mind getting together with family for any reason, for the most part. Just depends on what's going to happen, what we're going to do. But it's I just it is what I've referred to before as Pavlov's bell. We have conditioned ourselves, our family, our parents, our neighbors. We basically reinforce stupidity at the end of the day, because I would define stupidity in spending time and effort doing something where you really get no reward. And that's how I look at and that's why I kind of tweaked the phrase a little bit and say hollow daze, as in eyes glazed or daze, because a lot of people just do it without thinking. They think it's okay. Even people who think that they're different, I know a lot of atheists, for example, they spin it around and they think they're fucking cool because they put a flying spaghetti monster on their treetop, as to take away the holiday from the Christians, or to, but at the end of the day, they're still doing the same dumb shit. So that's kind of it for now. Don't get caught up in the holidays. And thanks again, Donna, dear friend, for that. And we'll see if I come up with something else later on, but that's what I thought I'd share with you this morning. So take care, take it easy, and most of all, stay safe. And remember, democracy is greed's enemy. Later.